What do you got for me?
I know you're a part of Tight Pants Society. Welcome into the first edition of Gas, ladies and gentlemen. I am Gresh. He is Boston Anik, otherwise known as Jason Anik. You get him confused with another famous guy that looks exactly like him every once in a while. And brother, this is the project we have been waiting to do, where sports and gambling meet, and you and I get to yell at each other for a little while.
Oh, dude, the pleasure's on this side of the table. Andy Gresh. I get to work with Andy Gresh, the legend. You know, well documented. I got to know you driving in my car, listening to you on national sports radio probably 15 years ago. GAS, Gresh, Anik Show, Gas, Morning Drive. How about Cody Merrow at the helm? Hadn't seen that open yet. Bone Marrow, well executed. Love that. Great to be with you, Gresh. Excited to talk about wherever this goes. Excited to talk some shit to you. Excited for you to put me in my place. I'm part of Tight Pants Society, which was part of the Open. Yeah, good. But I love you. I love you. I can't wait to be with you. But I also can't wait for you to talk some smack to me.
Oh, listen, brother. Well, let's get into it, because let's hit really the three of the top stories that are out there. And of course, the Cowboys lose last night. What else is new on Monday Night Football? And Jay, the NFL is pretty mid this year when you look at it, right? So the Bills beat the Chiefs again in the regular season. What else is new? You got Buffalo at 9-2. Kansas City is in at 9-1. Pittsburgh beat Baltimore in a slugfest. Pittsburgh's 8-2. The Ravens are 7-4. And then is everybody else in the AFC either bad or mid? Is this really kind of a 4-team race in the AFC as we sit here on November 19th?
I love you using the word mid as if you're not 50 years old, right? Because I'm 46, but I just discovered this word not that long ago, right? Cody's probably laughing at me right now, but mid, right? So for those of you old folks, right, that's, so middle of the road. I get it, Gresh. I'm just messing with you a little bit, but I don't even know if it's 4 teams. Like, to me, it's definitely 2 teams at the top of the AFC for me, in terms of that 1 seed. But yeah, do I think the Ravens could come in and upset the apple cart? I think there are a lot of teams in that mid-range that are still absolutely in it that could make things ugly. But to me, it's more about top-heavy and weak rather than mid. I think it's very interesting how at this stage of the season, there's so much sort of that seems already decided, dare I say. And I know we'll talk about the postseason later, but it is a different picture than we've had in seasons before. But I love this league no matter what they give to me.
Well, and I think you look in the NFC as well, and you got Detroit who's coming on. You have Philly at 8-2. There's Minnesota at 8-2, and I don't know. Maybe it's just a Sam Darnold hang up for me, where I just can't buy that a team led by Sam Darnold is going to be okay. But what's really interesting, Jay, is that when you look at the betting value for winning the AFC and the NFC, right? Detroit is still plus money at plus 150. Kansas City is plus 200 in winning the AFC. But if you look at some of these other teams, Pittsburgh is plus 850. I just crapped on Minnesota. They're plus 950. I just think the betting market might be telling us, hey, here are the teams that we think have separated themselves, because a lot of the value in the top picks, while still plus money, have kind of been sucked out of the betting market.
Great point. I couldn't agree with you more. And I'll get back to that. But betting markets can fluctuate, right? Look at the MVP, right? It was Lamar Jackson's. Now it's Josh Allen's. And we talked about this, I think, on our dry run. Christmas Day last year, Lamar Jackson took the MVP away from Brock Purdy. But I do think the odds makers are telling you something, and they know what they're talking about. When I look at the NFC, before last weekend, I would have told you, I think the 49ers, I even said yesterday, I think 49ers or Eagles maybe could even go in there and make Jared Goff uncomfortable and have him have one of those 5 interception days, and they don't end up winning the game. But as I sit here with you Tuesday morning on the inaugural episode of Gas, I think there's so much value on Detroit plus 150. Do I really see the Eagles coming in, right? And as you know, if you get that 1 seed, which look like it's going to be Detroit, nowadays only 1 bye, 7 teams make the postseason. You win 2 playoff games and you're in the Super Bowl, right? You win a home playoff game, you host the championship game. So I love the value on Detroit. Ultimately, I still like the value on KC, which is kind of the point you're making. Some other teams in the AFC that are of interest to me slightly, right? The LA Chargers, 11-1, right? They were 14-1. We're going to talk about this weekend coming up. If they are to win at home and beat the Ravens at home, right? Is there any value there? That 11-1 may get smaller, but do we really like them to beat KC in the postseason, Gresh?
Nah, boy, that's tough. And I know that a lot of it with Kansas City is health dependent because they're doing what the Patriots did with Tom Brady right now. We'll let a $30 million wide receiver go because the quarterback can make up for the difference. Well, we know that Mahomes has been dinged up a little bit. And the AFC, I don't want to say they're figuring Kansas City out, but this is now year 3 or 4 of Baltimore and Buffalo trying to build teams to beat Kansas City specifically, because to them, that's their path to get to the Super Bowl. I will say this, San Francisco, when they start to get healthy, I wonder if they're the team, Jay, that's got to play the extra game, but they're healthy and able to do so at kind of full Voltron. And then you got the real San Francisco 49ers battling you in a division round playoff game.
I agree with you, but I think a couple of 49ers fans that I work with regularly don't, right? On Oddshark, my 2 regular co-hosts, Ninja and Tony, are both diehard 49ers fans, moping all week, right? Calling the team soft. But they do bring up the point that the team that in San Francisco that beat Detroit in the championship game last year is not the team walking through the doors right now. That was sort of their counter argument to me, still liking San Francisco. And it is fascinating, right? As we look at San Francisco, their odds, right? San Francisco 10-1, right? To win the NFC. And the Rams, I believe, are coming back at like 45-1. I didn't even put in my notes, right? Same record, same division. So it's really interesting how San Francisco is still valued in Vegas, maybe the way you and I value them.
Well, I know you love Sean McVay, so I figured as a part of tight pants society, you've already got your future on the Rams to maybe win the NFC.
I actually don't, as much as I love Sean McVay, and I do think they should have been sellers, Gresh. I really do. I think, you talk about paying, well, and as we rewind a little bit, they beat Seattle a couple weeks back, but didn't look good. They lost on that sort of night game against Miami, and then they did win at New England yesterday. We may get to that. We most certainly will get to our guy Drake May at some point, unintentionally or otherwise. But for me, no, I think they should have been sellers, right? You can't have, I really think the idea of paying multiple big name receivers, I don't know, like T. Higgins, Andrew Whitworth, who played in Cincinnati for a while, well documented, saying Cincinnati should have moved on from T. Higgins, right? And certainly should have resolved the Jamar Chase thing. But how much, Puka Nacua is the guy. No disrespect to Cooper Kupp, but I think they should have moved on from him. Is Stafford really coming back? And maybe they could have sort of recouped some of that draft capital they have lost in past years. But I think the Rams should have been sellers. I don't believe in them long term.
Weird NFL prediction from this guy. In years coming up, we're going to see people treat wide receivers the way they treated running backs. And sorry for the ding there. I don't know if that came through. But when you look at these running backs, it's, you're 30, you're done. I'm telling you, we're going to start to get, Jay, to 29, 30-year-old wide receivers, and teams are just going to be like, unless they're elite like DeAndre Hopkins into their 30s, they're going to start shelving these guys and passing them on to other teams.
I wish I didn't agree with you so much today. I couldn't agree with you more. I talked about ad nauseum this season about a wide receiver market correction, right? How long are you going to do this where you're really paying this 1 of 11 on that side of the ball, that amount of money, right? If you can double team or whatever you can do. Now, certainly guys like Jamar Chase have proven it don't matter what you do, I'm worth those dollars. But I couldn't agree with your point more.
All right, let's get to point number 2, and that is one part of this show was mugging in the third row behind like Donald Trump and people like that with the silver hair flowing. I mean, you should have just had a shirt on that said asshole. Really? I mean, you were right there. You're mugging with Joe Jitsu, Joe Benavidez, who I hear is an awesome guy. If he's married to Megan O'Leary, she's the coolest person on the planet, so he must be cool. But oh my God, every photo that I saw coming out of 309, you and on the Instagram and leaning over, the hair was flowing. My God, it looked like it was Fashion Week down there for you at UFC 309.
Well, it's good that my co-host got all the love for the Megan O'Leary, Joe Benavides household. Hold no love for me and my twin brother, John, right? No, hey, I'm sitting there. I'm just messing with you, but mugging, right? It's so funny, Gresh. I sit there. I try not to do anything, right? I don't want to lose that seat, but what a night, UFC 309. And I will say the environment there, it's always an incredible environment, but it was a whole different thing from a Secret Service standpoint. You can be sure they were everywhere. It was everyone. It wasn't just Trump. It's Elon Musk. It's RFK. It's just it was an unbelievable scene. And I'm not even talking politics there. It's just, there's a magnitude of the event when you have the former president who's about to be president again in the building. The pop when he walked in was incredible. I'll leave the political stuff to that. We'll move on to the fight. Jon Jones, right? We talked about a little bit on our dry run. You get everything you want, right? When he beats Cyril Gane to win the heavyweight championship for the first time, he only got a couple minutes, and then he had the injury last year, but Stipe made him work for it a couple rounds, and then you get that highlight in the third round with the spinning back kick. It's sort of just pushing Stipe to the ground and everything thereafter. Just an incredible night, incredible experience. And Cody was barking in the pre-show. He couldn't even help himself but talk about Jon Jones. But it's really just so amazing to watch. And I root for legacy in this sport. It's hard to want to root for a guy. And as he spins it forward, right? What are you going to do to your legacy if you spin it forward and face Aspinall? But an amazing night for Jon Jones. Where were you watching? What was your night like?
Oh, listen, I was home. I was texting you and Cody during the event, definitely needling you as it all went on. But here's the thing. With John, I was a little disappointed. I thought Stipe Miocic was going to have a little more left in the tank. And the guy's a warrior, and he battled, and he took some shots. Like when Johnny Bones Jones, after a fight, says, that guy's tough as hell, I hit him with some stuff, and I ain't never dealt with anybody like him. You kind of get sort of the toughness and the legacy of Stipe, but I admit I was all looking forward. And this is terrible to say. To me, it's now all about Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall. And I'm glad Dana White came out and said, hey, listen, there ain't going to be a Pereira fight unless he ends up beating Aspinall, because at the end of the day, you can go like Tony Khan AEW super fight and make the one with Pereira. But I really, truly think Dana White, if there's one thing he's really good at, he knows the pulse of his people and his fan base. And I think you, me, Cody, and the rest of the world want to see Jones and Aspinall write the check, Dana, to get it done, because we will all end up buying about 1.5 million pay-per-views to watch that fight.
Couldn't agree more. Shout out Christian Fourier, former Super Bowl champion.
No, Fourier jumped in the chat, huh?
How about your former boy with the love? No man bun yet, but we're letting the lettuce flow. It's growing back out. But how about the love from your boy there, huh?
I love my guy. He was waiting to see what we were going to do. I know that you joined us when we were at EEI. It was last August, in fact. You and John came in studio, and you sat in the corner and waited, and then we put both of you on camera, and people were like, oh my God. Like, it's not just twins. It's like the weirdest, just you look at you two and listen, you can't figure it out. But anyway, we'll get to that other Anik. I don't want to gloss him for crying out loud. And when I okay, because I wanted to ask you something about Jon Jones, but
go ahead.
Was there, well, here's the thing with Jones. Does he have to beat Aspinall to defend his legacy? Because he'll be a big, I don't know about a big favorite, but he'll be a favorite when the betting line comes out, no question. But in terms of
no question, you'll get a question from me.
Oh, really? You think Aspinall might be the favorite when the betting line comes out?
Well, I do, and I don't mean to cut you off, right? I agree. I love it. I love everything you said about Dana White. I couldn't agree with you more. And even someone like me who doesn't look at Jon Jones as a heavyweight, right? He's weighing in at 235 pounds. There are a lot of people talk there should be a 225-pound division. So I was the guy, and kind of along with Joe Rogan a little bit, that we really wanted to see Poatan versus Jon Jones, really because physically they are sort of from that same weight class. I know Poatan's competed at middleweight as well, but I'm with you. I want to see Aspinall Jones, no question. And I think Jon Jones will get the bag that he's looking for to make this happen. But I think Dana White sort of manifested the whole thing to happen. I mean, I love it.
All right,
but I do think Aspinall will be favored because I don't think Jones is a heavyweight, and maybe I'm way off on that. But that may just mean that I like Aspinall in the fight. I don't think it hurts his legacy, to answer your question, at all. But if Jon Jones gets knocked out, slept by Aspinall. It does tweak the legacy. But, Jens Pulver, old school UFC fighter who I hosted some shows with over the weekend in New York, he really believes you're supposed to go out on a loss, right? You're supposed to give that new guy the opportunity to get in there. So to his point, you wouldn't taint the legacy.
Yeah, that is interesting. And Aspinall is the fight that everyone wants to see. I'm with you. Look, the UFC is printing money right now. It's not whether they have it, it's whether they want to give it out to make this fight happen. And I think old Uncle Dana knows what to do here, and that's to write the check. Hey, I want to jump to some Celtics basketball. You and I are Boston guys. However, this is a national show, but tonight it's an NBA Cup game between Cleveland and Boston. So there's the game itself, but Jay, what the hell is the NBA? Do you have, honest to God now, do you have any conceptual understanding as a fan how this works? Can you help me?
Well, if you really want me to help you, I do. And I did a little bit of homework because I understood it less this morning than I do now, if I'm being honest with you. but before I break it down for you, do you know that first of all, do you know who won the cup last year, the in-season tournament?
I do know that it's the Lakers because they hung a banner like they're the Colts who went to the AFC Championship game. Get the hell out of here.
So, and I'm not going to get off that point real quick. We'd like to congratulate the Los Angeles Lakers on their 2023-2024 in-season NBA tournament. The looks on the guys' faces as they were raising the banner. Meanwhile, as you see our green background, the team in Boston hoisted the motherfucking real one. Excuse me. Anyway, but quickly, Gresh, I will say, right, this in-season tournament, other than the Lakers raising the banner, is kind of interesting, right? So let me break it down for you real quick, if you don't mind, right? Quickly, or do you don't even want me to?
No, I want you to, but you said that you used the word interesting in the NBA Cup. That's why I kind of furrowed the brow.
Well, the Celtics-Cavs game to me in this tournament is much more interesting tonight than it normally would be in this little tournament because they are in the same group. The Celtics lost. All right, let me break it down for you real quick.
Okay, I got
tournament rule. So each conference divided into 3 groups, 5 teams in each, right? Total of 6 groups. It's divided based on records from the previous season. So the top 3 teams from the previous season go in 3 groups, blah, blah. We don't need to get into any more of that, right? So you play the other 4 teams in your group 1 time each. So there are 4 games in group play, 2 home, 2 away. If you're tied, they have a bunch of tiebreakers. We don't even need to get into the tiebreakers.
But right? Why do I need a goddamn abacus to figure this out?
Well, no, you don't. Well, but basically, so you play 4 games in group play. It's like a soccer tournament, Andy, right? So 4 groups in group play. But anyway, so the Cavs obviously have won. The Hawks are 2-0 in the Celtics group. The Celtics are 0-1. But so the top 8 teams get in a single elimination tournament, right? So is it a little bit of fun as it's going? Yes, but honestly, you know why I'm excited? Because we get to watch the world champions. I'm a Boston Celtics fan. So last year, I couldn't have cared less about it. This year, everything's gravy because my team won. So it piques my interest a little bit.
Now, here's the thing. Tonight's game, if this wasn't an NBA Cup game, tonight's game is fascinating because how many times have we seen this before? Oh, a cute little upstart like a Cleveland, maybe in Indiana. You know how it is, Jason. They have a little bit of success and they start to puff up their chest a little bit and think that, oh, yeah, we're up there with the Celtics. We're one of the big boys. And, oh, it's cute. I got friends who do sports talk in Cleveland. Yeah, they're rubbing peanut butter all over their nipples right now because they're 15-0. That, to me, is what makes this delicious tonight. I couldn't give 2 rat's asses about the NBA Cup. I want you know what I want? I want Jason Tatum to look at Donovan Mitchell and say, at any point in time, like a movie villain, I can reach in and I can rip your heart right out of your chest because our team is better than yours. It's going to be so delicious tonight to not only watch the Celtics win, Jay, but it's Cleveland +5 and the over-under is 236.5. This game's going way over because the Celtics are going to prove a point and stick it to the Cavs.
I love all that stuff. I'm certainly going to look at some of the injury reports, but Donovan Mitchell was injured last season. And had he not been injured in that series, I believe the Cavs would have been a much tougher out. So you can be sure the Cavs have something that they're coming for this season. But as the point I just made, as a fan, and I'm talking to you as a fan, it is so delicious to enjoy an NBA championship that I don't really give a fuck what happens tonight. And that's the best part about it, right? I hope you're right, but let's say Cleveland comes in and they get to 16-0, right? Still don't care. You got to come beat them 4 out of 7 times come postseason. So, but anyway, I do think Cleveland is really legit. And I think it's not going to be the team from New York at the end of the season that the Celtics are really going to need to get through with this Cleveland team. And the Celtics better be healthy if they want to get through this team. I do like Boston in this spot tonight, though, but I'd be taking those 5.5 points, maybe a little happiness hedge if I was betting on it.
I do like the over tonight. By the way, right now, the leader in the clubhouse from an odds standpoint to win the NBA Cup are the New York Knicks at plus 450. If you like the Celtics to win the Cup, plus 900 is kind of juicy right now. But to your point, Jay, I don't think they care about that. They care about winning another championship. If they win the NBA Cup along the way, that would be kind of nice. Thanks to those of you who have followed along at Gas Show AM on Twitter and Instagram. I know that you are watching us in multiple places, whether it is, my Twitter at The Real Gresh, whether it's Jason's Twitter at Boston Anik, our producer at Cody_Marrow. Give
no
our guys
up
both.
In that? Is there an underscore up in that?
I thought there was an underscore on Twitter, but
so I'm 1-0. Aspinall opened as the favorite. Oh, you are correct, Gresh. So we're 1-1. There is an underscore. See, I love it. I love it.
You're the
only person other than my twin brother that I would correct like that. Why? Why am I so comfortable with you?
Because we've been brothers for a long time. That's why. I just don't look like you. I'll tell you what, if you looked like me, that'd be a problem. Like you woke up one day, next thing you know, you're 6'5" and enormous. Good Lord. So thanks to everybody who is catching us all across the internet as well, at The Real Gresh on the YouTube. And we've got it linked up everywhere. Just want to say, make sure you're following Jason on Twitter at Boston Anik. I did find that someone has Jason Anik on some of the other ones, but Boston Anik is better because that's you. Like, I've always known you to be the guy that texts me and be like, oh, Mac Jones stinks or something like that. Or, oh, I'd love to bow down to Drake May, something along those lines.
Yeah, it really is funny. And some of those that I've gotten to know in the MMA community, I'll name a couple Michaels, Michael Bisping, Michael Chiesa, right? Caught themselves saying, hey, what's up, Boston? What's up, Boston? Right. But they know now. And Gresh, you're 3 for 3 calling me Jason and not John today. Cody,
I'm on it. I'm not going to, no.
Got to get to, well, no, it's like my dad called, my younger brother's name was David. My dad was like, Jason, Jonathan, David, whatever your name is, right? So at some point, Cody, we got to get a button every time he calls me John, some sort of button that he doesn't like.
Yeah, we need a ding or a bell or something like that. I just responded to asshole from my parents and even my mother today. They can't believe I make money talking for a living. By the way, I just want to plug, I'll be the guest speaker at a gathering of the Toro Fraternal Association, a Jewish men's club in Cranston, Rhode Island. It's a big one for me on Wednesday night. So it's I won't make a Kishka joke or anything like that, but my buddy Andy Lanchik asked me to just go tell stories of the past.
Well, it's great. You can tell him you're hosting a show with a Jewish guy from Boston, and hey,
we're all there we go.
There you go, right? So, but if they had me speak and they wanted me to get into any of the religious stuff, I would have been in real trouble.
Oh, I got you. So you're like my buddy Mike Babchick on Sirius, who identifies as, but doesn't really know, as he would say, or as Costanza would say in Seinfeld, I'm aware of the basic plot. Whenever he was converting.
This is the first and last time that I'm compared to Mike Babchick.
Oh, you want to be? I'll tell you. Let's get to the NFL.
I love Mike Babchick.
You should. I saved his ass, and he knows that. He was on his way out of Sirius if it wasn't for him working for me and me straightening him up. But I was also divorced, and he taught me how to live life. So, oh yeah, there's a whole love story with he and I that we'll have to get to. But let's get to the week coming up in the NFL, Jay. And look, Thursday night, we got Pittsburgh -3.5 at Cleveland. Over-under is 36. Cleveland is lower than the rent on a burning building right now. Pittsburgh is playing great with Russell Wilson, which does surprise me. But, man, I wish this game had a little more juice. Cleveland doesn't have nothing for Pittsburgh, I don't think.
I agree with you. But I do think I don't mind a standalone game to really be able to watch this Pittsburgh team play, because we tend to be
I thought
Go
it
ahead.
was no, I thought it was when you said a Pittsburgh team, a PISS. I
Oh,
thought it was
Pittsburgh. That's hilarious.
it was the Freudian slip of
Well,
describing this game.
no, well, no, and I probably did. I probably did say it that way. But when you come out of a week and you win a football game, then it's all about the win. If you don't catch every play, or there's only so much we can all ingest, right? So I don't think they scored a touchdown, right? 6 field goals for Pittsburgh. So I'll be interested to watch them play and see what I really think of them, because it's going to be hard for me to really believe in that Pittsburgh team. So I guess sometimes on Sunday I feel a little bit overwhelmed trying to take everything in. So I don't mind that spot, even though the game doesn't have much juice. I'm excited to sort of watch every play of that game.
Well, I'll give Mike Tomlin a ton of credit. He does, to me, among consistently the best jobs in the league of battling Baltimore and Lamar Jackson. Of course, they also kind of maybe screwed it up there in the end. No Derrick Henry in the game. A lot of people were questioning that. But that's where I land on this game, Jay. In terms of the touchdown scorers, you got Najee Harris at plus 110, Nick Chubb at plus 175. Pickens, who scored a couple of times against Cleveland in the last 3, he's at plus 195, and Russell Wilson and Pickens seem to have a pretty good connection. I really like that Pickens plus 195 getting a touchdown. I'll trust Pittsburgh minus the 3.5 because I think Cleveland will find a way to Cleveland it up. But that touchdown market is very interesting because I can see Cleveland getting down early and then giving up a couple of garbage rushing touchdowns in the second half to cash some tickets for you.
You'd know better than me. And I want to ask you sort of what it's like that locker room in Cleveland, right? Tough to know exactly what you're getting, right? Because you can be sure there are plenty of guys in there that want to ruin Pittsburgh's night and season even at this stage, right?
Yeah, I just think Cleveland right now is in the middle of an identity crisis. They lose Watson. So much of what they were trying to do was tied into him. And then you have a guy in Kevin Stefanski. And I know that I rail on guys like Sean McVay, but I look at Stefanski similarly in that, yeah, they've had some success, but he's really an offensive guy. There isn't that sort of 3-level ability to be able to coach, to come up with different things or affect people differently. Like, admittedly, one of my former teammates, but still, look at what Darren Rizzi's doing in New Orleans, right? He's involved in all 3 phases. He's getting them jacked up. He's trying to set the tone for what they want to be. Who set the tone in Cleveland? Nobody. The opponents
So,
are.
All right. So you didn't have Rizzi in your notes, but I did. I have to talk about him. We talked about him on our dry run. Okay. So for those of you who didn't, I don't see anyone could have seen our dry run, but Darren Rizzi. Okay. Tell everyone how New Orleans Saints undefeated 2-0 head coach Darren Rizzi.
So I got recruited to URI by Bob Griffin in 91, signed there, went in 92 when Rizzi was an All-American tight end. We had a 1-10 football team, and they sucked the year before too. I think like 4-7. The guy was a 9-time All-American on a bad team. He was a damn good player and one of the most intense people you're ever going to meet.
So this guy, right? And like, bro, so he's I could do 30 minutes on this guy, right? Talk about leadership, right? He's been in New Orleans for 5 years, right? So he knows the players there and just everything this guy does, whether it's the raspy voice, like, dude, do you know what he does pregame? Like, do you know what this guy's doing? Like, he walks in front of all these meetings, right? He has a shovel. He's like pretending to dig a hole. He's like, we got a hole to dig out of. His whole thing is 1 out of 11. You are 1 of 11 in terms of everything you do, whether it's your nutrition off dude, like if he's not coaching the Saints next year as the head football coach, he better be the head coach somewhere else. He just has it. I mean, he was right under their nose for a long time. Do you agree? I mean, I know he's your boy.
Look, 100%. And I know a little of the inside detail of he got an interview with the Saints whenever they were looking for Dennis Allen. And it was almost like a courtesy interview. But in kind of going back, that's a part of the steps and the process, unfortunately, in the NFL, where you got to interview for some of these things and kind of get in line. I know that when Peyton went to Denver, he really wanted to bring Riz with him as really like the assistant head coach, almost like the I'll bump you up. But he was under contract to New Orleans, and now look at what has happened. So how about that? In what a weird way for the Saints to kind of land on the guy that was under their nose all along.
That is so interesting, given what we think of Sean Payton. Rich, I'm sure you're a great fan of Sean Payton, as I am. I mean, the fact that he was interested in Rizzi to that extent makes so much sense.
Yeah, no, very much so. And then you got some of the games of the week here in the NFL. So you got Monday night, the Ravens and the Chargers, and I'll tell you, you're in on the Chargers as one of those teams to watch. As am I. I think they're very compelling because of the head coach, and when you look at the impact Harbaugh's had, he's kind of calming that team down a little bit. They didn't panic the other night whenever they played their last game, but it's Ravens -3, over under a 51 here against the Chargers. Ravens got to go all the way across the country, but I don't know. To me, this is a real test. Chargers win this one, Jay. I think they might elevate into that group that we referenced earlier.
I agree. And one of the guys on the Huddle show I'm doing, Ninja, had the Chargers in the top 5 in his power rankings 3 weeks ago. And so if they get in this spot, maybe I'm really going to be with him. It's interesting that we got to go all the way to Monday night for the best game of the week. This week's schedule is so bad. You don't really get a good game until the 4:00 window on Sunday. But in terms of this particular game, the Harbaugh Bowl, right? I mean, and for me, right, I don't think they faced since they faced in the Super Bowl.
Correct.
And it couldn't be a bigger spot, right? If you had told me this is like the perfect spot, right? To have the Ravens, who really are the better team in all of our minds overall, we would still take the Ravens at this point. The odds would indicate that to get out of the conference, right? So they lose that last week. So Jim Harbaugh actually at 7-3, welcoming his brothers 7-4 Ravens. Just so much crossover in terms of staffs and players. My first instinct when we first I looked at this rundown and we were talking about this game was sort of Ravens -3, right? Just, Ravens, because I tend to just think purple all the time, as I did last week at Pittsburgh. But then when I really think about it, if I'm sitting here with it, I like the Chargers as of this moment. Give me the 3 points. Give me the Chargers. Give me Jim Harbaugh. They just feel like they have a lot of momentum. But I do think sometimes there are spots. I thought the Bengals were going to go in and beat the Chargers, and there was sort of going to be a regression to the mean, if you will, a little bit in this league. So would I be surprised if the Ravens go in there and sort of beat them and things sort of become more like what they're supposed to be? No.
Yeah, I'm a little torn on this one. I would lean towards taking the points, and I wonder if the money will move the number to 3.5 on the Ravens. I think that's the magic of, you get to that 3.5 and then everybody is going to jump on the Chargers. So we'll see how that moves. The Sunday night game is the Eagles -3 at the Rams, over under a 50.5 in that one. And this feels like, to me, the last stand for the Rams. If they're going to be a factor, you beat a team like this to show everybody that you can play up. Otherwise, they live in the land of mid, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. And so it's interesting, right? So you have that Sunday night, Eagles -3 at the Rams, and then Monday night, Ravens -3 at the Chargers. So I'm going to come back at you before I talk about this Sunday night game. Which one of those teams is more likely to win at home, the Chargers or the Rams? 2 home games in LA, both 3-point underdogs.
Chargers, I think. Even though it's the Rams' home building, quote unquote, I'd say the Chargers.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Philadelphia, but there is a little recency bias, right? Philadelphia had a lot of not great moments last week. I know it was a Thursday night, and then they figured things out toward the end. But I agree with you. And the Rams, right, at 5-5. I know they won at New England last week, but I just really don't believe in them nearly as much as I believe in the Chargers. And I bring it up in the context from a betting standpoint, right? Is however these lines move, right? That Eagles at 3 right now, I like that quite a bit. However, you've seen the Rams primetime in big spots a couple of weeks back, beat Minnesota 30-20, handled them. So that game scares me a little bit. We have the luxury of letting a few days play out as we sit here on a Tuesday morning. But 2 big games, really. And the only other big game, I don't mean to steal your thunder here, right, is San Francisco +2.5 at Green Bay. That's a 4:25 game Sunday. The rest is weak.
Yeah, and very weak. And then San Francisco going to Green Bay. For me, it's a matter of, will we see the real San Francisco? In all honesty, Jay, when I think about Frisco, can they win enough games to make the tournament and then find a way to get healthy while doing so? And those two things normally don't sort of mesh together. Green Bay's in an interesting spot because I know Love got hurt a little bit. He's played pretty well. Over under a 48. Honest to God, my gut feel right now would be take all the underdogs and put them in a 3-team teaser and, go get close to what you get. So you get 9-9 and 8.5 with the underdogs in those 3 games we just talked about.
Yeah, it's interesting. The 49ers, I feel like if they win this one, right, then there really may be something to talk about. And what you and I feel like
Mhm.
that's a team you and I have both kind of alluded to that, if I'm a gambling man and I don't want the Lions to win, I feel like I want that 49ers offense going in there. I know the defense maybe isn't what it was. I don't know how much I love Kyle Shanahan's leadership, if I'm being honest with you, right? In terms of leading that locker room. You see things that happen. You remember Brandon Ayuk, all the stuff going on in the offseason. Then he's in the then he's like pulling down his pants on the field. Shanahan seemed to handle that, but I don't know. Like, I don't, when I look at a guy like Darren Rizzi, and I know that it's just 2 games in, but when he was given the game ball after that, the way that he commanded the room, it's just important. You have so much going on, so many men. So I don't know. I don't know how much I believe in Kyle Shanahan. And Green Bay coming off a game where, they block a field goal at the end, right? But coming off a game where they most certainly could have lost. So I think we're going to know a lot more about San Francisco and if they're even worth talking about after this weekend.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment in the very first Gresh Anik show where I give the floor to Jason Anik for a moment or two to tell you how much he loves Drake May. Jay, go ahead.
Wow. I didn't know you're going to do. I'm so glad you did that. How do you, I didn't know that how much I like him. But it's really interesting. And I know I brought up the Huddle on Oddshark, which is a show I do, a couple days a week at 2:30. But it's very interesting because I look at these guys these are handicappers that I work with, and they're really sharp. And I'm always curious how they ingest everything there is to ingest on the weekend. And what became very clear is that they're 49ers fans and I'm a Patriots fan, and they hadn't seen as much Drake May as I have seen, right? And they're giving me analytics about his turnovers, right? Which is an analytic I don't care about for the kid who just turned 22. I just can't get enough of Drake May. And I'm a big intangible guy, right? The eye test, he passes the eye test. I love the footwork. I love his quick decision making. He's always making the decision to break the pocket when things break down, maybe a slight second before I think he should, right? You don't see it. He sees it. He sees the field. He's from an athletic family. I think his brother plays basketball at Duke. He's so athletic. He's fast. He is accurate. He can make all the throws, and he has the moxie, right? At one point, Gerard Mayo said, I don't like to say this, and this was after a loss, but he said, he's kind of Gronk-like. And I was like, give me all of that, because Gronk's positive energy, say what you will. And Gronk never said anything on the Mike Belichick didn't want him to say. He was always that locker room guy, always doing his job, but I think brought tremendous positive energy. I can't get enough of Drake May. And I'm usually a guy that doesn't want to say things. I'm not necessarily saying I am superstitious, but I absolutely believe he's going to be a Super Bowl champion and lead this team. He may save Gerard Mayo's job. I think he's that good. And I believe this quarterback class from last season, all 6 of these guys, the top 3, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, I don't want to forget JJ McCarthy, Penix Jr., and Bo Nix. I think maybe I don't know how much I like Penix, but I think all 5 of those other guys are going to be good, and I'm glad New England has this one.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was this week's statement about Drake May.
What do you think of Drake May? Please talk to me.
Here's what it is.
Really?
Well, I'm kind of middling it a little bit in that you love the athleticism and the arm. That stands out. The thing that I worry about is, especially with a lot of these boots and stuff like that, is Drake May going to fall into the habit of just relying on the athleticism? Or will he not throw the ball for the second time at the end of a game in the middle of a team meeting or something like that?
Well, that's just because he got the tanking memo as well.
Well, there is a little bit of that, and they might screw that up as well. We could go to Tankathon and look, but I like what I'm seeing from May, but there are also some things that if they continue to develop by the end of the year, they might be habits that he's going to have to be coached out of by someone better than he's dealing with right now. And why don't we just leave it at that? Because it is time for you and I, Jason Anik, to play a round of Who's Cooked in the NFL. So Miami Dolphins. Remember the Miami Dolphins, the greatest football team? Tight end coach and wide receivers, the greatest we've ever seen. That stupid ass song they play down there. Well, Miami is, and you know all about the area down there.
No doubt.
They're 4-6. They're 9th in the AFC. They were minus 150 to make the playoffs on opening day. They are plus 300 right now. I think the Dolphins are cooked. They're going to beat the Patriots this weekend, but to me, they don't have enough on the other side of the ball to save themselves. What say you? Are the Dolphins cooked?
The last statement you made, I agree with, which gives me pause. And as usual, you're sort of keeping me on my toes. But just think they have a great chance to beat out the two teams that are above them right now. And when I look at the picture, right, as you put it, ninth in the AFC, right? So if they beat the Patriots this weekend, they get to 5-6, Miami, right? You're looking up at the Broncos at 6-5, the Colts at 5-6. And I do believe they're better than both of those teams. Your point about the other side of the ball is well taken, but they have shown some improvement. They handled the Rams pretty well on that side of the ball a couple weeks back, right? And in the rearview mirror, it would be the Bengals and the Jets. Right now, I do believe the Bengals have a great chance to win 5 of 6 games fairly easily and get to 9-8. But when I look at Miami's schedule, it is a little bit up and down, but I do think that they are maybe the class of those 5 teams. So if they can play good football, I do think they could sneak in. So I do not believe they are cooked right now. And if you put a gun to my head, I probably would say they squeak in.
Wow, very good. Okay. San Francisco, I know we've talked a lot about Frisco. They're 5-5. They're 10th in the NFC, though. Minus 500 to make the playoffs on opening day. They are plus 200 right now. I kind of think you and I are going to share a brain on this. Are the 49ers cooked? Nah, not really.
Well, you know what's interesting? You and I shared a brain, and I keep talking about the huddle, but I was sold by them a little bit yesterday, right? And Vegas just really believes in San Francisco as we do, right? So the Cardinals lead the NFC West at 6-4. The other three teams are 5-5. But they're not playing detailed football. I mean, San Francisco, right? And my guy's calling them soft, right? Debo's been disappointing. They showed me a play the other day where there was a loose football and Debo's just like standing around watching, right?
Awful.
So almost taking a play off, right? So they have Green Bay this week, right? Road games coming up for San Francisco at Buffalo, at Miami, and at Arizona. They also host Detroit on December 30th in an NFC Championship game rematch. They better hope Detroit's not playing for anything because Detroit's certainly the superior team. So I actually think great chance to be 5-6 after Green Bay on Sunday. I think they miss the postseason, San Francisco.
San Francisco is very much teetering at this point. This Green Bay game is big for them, as we chronicled. They're 2.5-point underdogs going to Green Bay, but you're 10th in the NFC and you start to lose tiebreakers. That becomes really problematic. Cincinnati is 4-7. They're 10th in the AFC, minus 250 on opening day to make the playoffs. They are plus 350 now. Jason, is Cincinnati cooked?
Well, and to answer these questions, I tend to feel like I'm answering yes, they're going to make the playoffs, or no, right? So I maybe didn't answer, but no, I don't think Cincinnati's cooked, and I can't even believe I'm saying that, right? But I just alluded to their schedule, right? So they're 4 and stay with me a little bit. The 9-8 gets you in. That's sort of my method with 7 teams. That if you get to 9-8. Not right, maybe you get in. So just hypothetically, right? So they have the Steelers twice. Cincinnati, let's say they get one of those. That's not outrageous. And then the other 4 games at Dallas, dub. At Tennessee, dub. Versus Cleveland, dub. Versus Denver, that's tough. But all 4 of those, they'll be favored. So I wouldn't bet on it, but I think 5-1 is very doable. And with Joe Burrow, you tell me they can't go 6-0 and get to 10-7. I think they could. They're, despite the 1-4 start or whatever it was and all the different things that haven't gone well, I can't ignore the offensive side of the ball. I can't ignore Joe Burrow. And I do think in certain spots, I would fear that team like no other if they run off 6 straight and enter this as a 7 or 6 seed.
Yeah, and you saw when T. Higgins plays the difference it can make, and Cincinnati made the comeback. The thing that gets me about Cincinnati as to why I think they're cooked is they're losing close games. But they're losing close games while they still have a lot of their people. Miami, who I rag on, lost some close games in part because Tua didn't play.
No doubt.
Cincinnati is finding ways to lose. They're not finishing on offense. They give it up. I mean, good Lord, they lost to the Patriots on week 1. Who would have known that would have been indicative of the way this team would have played more often than not this season?
Yeah, it's a really good point. It's just so many opportunities for them to have come out on the other side of those football games. But ultimately, for me, while I say they're not cooked, I'm certainly not betting on them plus 350 to make the postseason.
Yeah, that would be something. And then we have the Rams, who are 8th in the NFC, so they're really not out of it. They are 5-5. They going into the weekend, they were plus 435 to make the playoffs on Saturday. Now they're plus 300. They did go in and beat New England. We'll see what happens to them along the way. I know they're not out of it, but I'm going to tell you something. They're cooked.
Yeah.
They're cooked because they can't stop a nosebleed on defense. And they got carved up by Drake May. I know you love Drake May. I kind of like Drake May, but holy crap. The Rams can't cover anybody at this point, and they're the team that if they don't play with the lead, they're not going to win because their defense gets more exposed. What I saw in New England let me know that the Rams are cooked.
Got great stuff there. I hate to agree with you. We're going to start disagreeing a lot. We disagreed the other day, but
this is your guy, McVay. I figured
I
you would
love
be
Sean
you'd
McVay,
be all
but
over me.
I believe it was a huge mistake for them not to be sellers this year. I really believe that. I do not look at this team as a contender. You know, when I look at Darren Rizzi in New Orleans and I look at them wanting to sort of get win, like forget tanking, right? Every time, if you ever hear me mention tanking, just assume it's always a joke. Now that the Patriots for real, now that the Patriots have their quarterback, I want them to win every game and develop some momentum, right? Number 84 in your program, Kendrick Bourne, wanted to be there for the turnaround for when it goes bad to good, right? So for me, but yeah, I think the Rams are cooked and they should have been sellers, but the Rams, right? They'll probably get up for some of these big games, right? That's the thing is like, I feel like Sean McVay can still get them up for these games, but ultimately I think they miss the postseason, and they've had some moments this season where they've looked like the team that you and I maybe believe to be cooked.
Well, we are appreciative of all of you who are watching the first edition of Gas. You're catching it on YouTube. You're seeing it on Twitter as well. We're going to get this out on every platform we possibly can, 11 a.m. every Tuesday. We're going to come to you, and we're going to bring you right up to the Super Bowl as well, and make sure that you're covered there each and every Tuesday. Make sure you tell your friends. And you know what, Jay, it's great when guys like the welterweight champion of UFC, Bilal Muhammad, show us some love on social.
Dude, how about my guy, Bilal Muhammad, right? And, you know, Bilal's a really close friend of mine. We've done a podcast together called Remember the Show. Cody produces it. We've done it for 4 years. But I'll be damned if my guy doesn't repost, retweet, anything that I'm trying to do in my life. My guy, Bilal, is supporting me and trying to bring eyeballs to it. And man, it's all about that, right? Rooting for others and rooting for the success of others is one of the most important things, I think, in this world. And he most certainly does that. This has nothing to do with my boy Bilal, this show, but you can be sure he knows he has some eyeballs on him. I appreciate the love. If you'll see over my left shoulder, this great artist, Dave Fretz, just designed this little piece of art for me, right? And at the bottom, it says, my best friend is a bully. How about that?
Oh, I love that. And thanks to our guy, Average Joe, as well. Average Joe Art taking care of us with all the artwork. And it was great working with him through the process. Also nice to meet another diehard wrestling fan as well.
Oh, Average Joe Art. I could do a whole show on my guy, the brilliant Average Joe Art, who is probably a better human being than artist. He's out in California, but no, Gresh, you got to know him a little bit, and you guys pro wrestling, but you guys also love animals so much. And I'm going to actually break this on Joe Romero doesn't know this, right? Joe Romero has many animals, cats and dogs, but what he doesn't know, and I hope he's watching right now. If you are, Joe, comment. I am viciously allergic to cats, Joe Romero. And I was going to tell both of you, right? This is a non-pet household. My wife, my kids, got a couple daughters. We are allergic to everything in this house. So Joe Romero, who's in California, the UFC is going to LA. Hopefully we get him to the event, because Joe Romero, I don't know if I could step foot in your household without getting a swollen face.
Well, I'll tell you what, you did the same here, because I have a golden retriever, but I also have a cat. His name is Merle, because that's the sound he makes. And he brought in a bunny the other day, and at about 2 a.m, we heard him viciously gutting the bunny. Oh, yeah. So hold on, because here's the thing quickly. We have a dog door, big fenced in backyard. Dog can come in and out of the dog door. The cat also goes in and out of the dog door. And it's been chronicled on actually a couple of radio stations how this guy is a killer and will, bring in these but he's brought in stuff and let it loose in the house. We've had to scoop up a bunny in my studio that was hiding in the corner over here.
So would you rather the bunny be dead or alive in your house?
Oh, dead. Wait, because I can put some earplugs in to deal with the squeals of it being murdered, but trying to catch one in your house is a nightmare.
Earplugs in to deal with this. So that's what you do as your cat is killing its meal.
Yeah, that's right.
Earplugs.
Normally it's middle of the night, and I might have earplugs in anyway, but yeah, if the thing starts squeaking too much, you can just pop in the earplugs, and I'm not going to deny the cat his ability to be a cat.
My daughters would really know how soft I am if anything like that happened. You should see my reaction to fucking frogs down here, Gresh. You should see the way I react to a frog, okay? I told my wife the other night, I don't know if I like cockroaches or frogs less. My wife doesn't like bugs, doesn't like nature, right? I've been with her 20 plus years. I've morphed a little bit, Gresh, give me 4 walls.
I got to tell you, if my wife could, we'd have a farm.
I bet.
And it would be full of just everything that I would not want to deal with. We can go there. Hey, want to make sure that you follow us on social media, on Twitter or X, whatever you call it, at Gas Show AM, at The Real Gresh, at Boston Anik, at Cody_Merrow on Twitter. You can also get Gas Show AM, The Real Gresh, and Boston Anik on Instagram as well. And of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Yeah, it is at The Real Gresh, the YouTube channel, whatever, but subscribe because that's where you're going to get gas each and every Tuesday here online with me and Jason. So now we kind of head towards the big finish. And I have been waiting to show you this video for a while. So you and your brother play pickleball, do you not?
We do.
I've seen you and John sweating like you Mike Tyson at a spelling bee, for God's sakes. How about this? This is a pickleball tournament, right? So here's where we're going to mix pickleball and MMA. Cody, as we let this go, it's the guy in kind of the pink shorts right there. Keep an eye on that dude. And look at the guy bends down. Oh, and he blasts him right in the face. So after a pickleball tournament, this guy resorted to violence.
Yep. Keep this playing. Look at this asshole. And I did see this. Go back, Cody. Go back. The green shirt. Well, you got to see the whole picture. If you can go back, the green shirt guy, as they're playing, just watch the body language of this asshole that gets kicked in the face. Okay?
Yep.
Because he's playing a game. He's just being an asshole, smacks the racket. You fuck around, you find out, motherfucker.
Yeah, so you are pro the face kicker, not the face kicky.
Absolutely. So I did see this, and I don't want to steal your thought, but I did see this, right? And Cody, there's another clip that if you play the whole 45 seconds, there is a longer clip of this where the guy who gets kicked in the face is being such an asshole as if he just won the NBA championship, right? And
so he over celebrated?
Oh my gosh. I mean, all right, let's just let this play.
He knocked the racket down and he got kicked in the face, and then everybody else tries to run to the guy.
Watch this. Yeah, fuck yeah.
Oh, right? Come on. That's worth a kick in the face on a pickleball court?
Well, okay, so here's my take. Now,
and I'm a prick.
Okay, so my guess is that this guy was a prick the whole time. We don't know the relationship, right? I wouldn't kick someone in the face like that. You could be sure. I'm an old man. I'm mature. But this guy who he was playing seemed like he was an asshole the whole game, right? And he started it, right? So the guy that retaliated got the flag. But what are you doing hitting his racket out of his hand, bitch? Kick to the headshot, bang.
But he did try to lean down and pick it up, and then the guy took advantage of him, and then there we go. Boy, listen, I'm out on the pickleball world. I wanted to bring it to you and that other Anik to sort of see kind of where you guys landed on it, because you guys are the pickleballers.
So Gresh, what would you do, right? I wouldn't kick the guy in the face, but I promise you, in that situation, if I saw the behavior that guy, like, fuck him, and then he hits the racket out of I am retaliating if you hit the racket out of my hand like that. What are you doing? I know we don't know the relationship, but like, you're right.
It's a FAFO situation. according to
It
you.
is. It is.
There you
Do you
go.
not like the F-bombs, Gresh? I get such mixed reviews. All this broadcasting work I do, I get these people like, oh, be yourself, right? You can be yourself, right? But then everybody seems to want it PG-13. So are you another one of those guys that it's just like, oh, well, you know, it's cringe every time it comes out of my mouth? Or
No, not at all. But you got to remember that for 30 years of my life, I've never worked blue. And you just learn, like you talk to me off the air. It's nothing. Yeah, it's a whole different. You learn to flip. I don't mind it. Hey, here's what I say: as long as YouTube doesn't mind, we good, brother.
Well,
That's all I care about.
And look, I respect my mom's wishes, and she believes, you know, she's like, I brought you up better than that. What do you got? No class. And you can be sure my brother, you know, we talk about it being a verbal crutch or whatever it may be. But Gresh, when I get fired up, it's my favorite adjective. It's the bottom line.
Absolutely. And my mom didn't raise me any better. She's the one who used to cuss at me all the time. Saturday, 6 a.m. UFC. I'm going to try to say it right. It's PETR, but isn't it Petr Yan minus 330 against Davison Figueiredo? That's the main event. I got to say, Figueiredo, having moved up in weight, has done well for him at this point in his career.
Absolutely. You were close on the pronunciation. It's Petr Yan.
Petr.
Not like Coach Ray Longo saying Peter Yan, you know?
Yeah, right, exactly. If we go by Ray Longo, no one gets it right.
But it's Petr Yan. Great matchup. And yeah, main card, 6 a.m. So I'm able to watch this thing with coffee. The main event, maybe 8:30. But Gresh, you know, it's, I guess, so you see the line, right? Petr Yan minus 330, Davison Figueiredo plus 250. I agree with you completely. Davison Figueiredo in this weight class, give me all of it. The weight cuts used to be such a problem for him at flyweight. But Petr Yan, man, who had that championship ripped from him with that knee, it's hard for me now. I love both of these guys. I'm a little disappointed one of them's going to lose on Saturday morning.
Well, as you see what Cody brought up right there for the Yan versus Figueiredo, I'll tell you this. The guy who is over the shoulder right there, that guy DC, that's the guy rooting for Tom Aspinall whenever he fights Johnny Bones Jones. I would love to have the real conversation with DC about what he wants in that fight. And I only see him, so I reacted like a squirrel.
You know, it's really interesting. Doesn't surprise you know that I spend a lot of time with DC, and we had a lot of conversations this week, just sort of casually. And I'm not going to reveal too much about what he said, but I said to him at one point, I'm like, Daniel, John Jones, like, is putting you over every chance he gets. He wants to like be your friend, right? He desperately wants to be your friend. Even though the interview sometimes a little bit awkward, John Jones, someone asked if Stipe was the best guy, you know, you've ever faced. He said, no, that's DC. But you can be sure, given all the allegations and everything else, DC is never going to have any time for this guy. He's doing his job broadcasting. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And I respect.
They're going to poke each other forever, right? They're going to poke each other forever. Yeah.
Well, DC just got no time for that, and I get it.
I love DC, man. I had one conversation with him in Radio Land, and what a good dude. And then I told the story when my wife dumped wine all over John's jacket. It created a stir outside the hotel in Boston. DC slid right out away from everybody. So we actually hooked him up because everybody was there waiting for him. He is slippery.
And he got mad at me this weekend because Saturday night we come back and he and John both have these post-fight obligations. So we're back in the hotel at like 2:30 in the morning. And he's holding court in the lobby with like some of his family members. And look, I know DC so well. I'm always busting his balls. So I walk in there. I'm like, oh shit, it's DC. And you know, and he's like, don't do that. Looks at me. He's like, where? And he looks at me. I'm like, DC, you don't always look at me when you tell me. He's like, don't do that. I'm like, all right, I won't do that. But no, he's the man. I love me some DC. You could be sure.
Did you piddle a little?
A little bit, but no, he's a teddy bear like you. You're not going to do nothing to me.
Listen, don't be outing us now. Don't be outing us that, like, you know, we're warm and cuddly and all that kind of stuff. All right, folks. So there is your first edition of Gas, where it is sports, it is gambling, it's a little bit of both, and also people kicking others in the face while playing dodgeball. You can find me, by the way, on Sirius Satellite Radio, on Mad Dog Radio, and next week on ESPN Radio nationwide. I got the big days of the day before Thanksgiving and Thanksgiving, 7 p to midnight, 5 hours by myself, back-to-back nights in a row, baby. Let's go.
I'll be listening. And what you've said is those shows by yourself, which sound to me like my nightmare. How am I going to fill 5 hours? For you, it's like taking candy from a baby.
Back-to-back nights, baby. Let's go.
I love
I'm
it.
like
I'll be
I'm
listening.
like I'm like a porn star. I'm at full staff all the time,
I'll
ready
be
to
listening.
go.
I'll be
Well,
listening.
thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Folks, don't forget, next Tuesday, we're going to be back here on all these platforms that you're watching us right now. Make sure you catch us next week, 11 a.m. next Tuesday. We'll get you ready for all the Thanksgiving Day games. Great job by Jason Anik. Great job by Cody Marrow. Thank you. Spread the word about gas. We'll see you next
Gas,
week.
baby.